Cancer Awareness Month, observed every October, shines a critical spotlight on the growing impact of cancer worldwide. In Nigeria, cancer awareness has seen gradual improvement, but significant challenges remain in early detection, treatment access, and public education. I am Aisha. Salihu, and on today's episode of the program, we will be looking at breast cancer awareness from the side of the warriors and survivors. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is not just about education, it's about hope, resilience, and the strength of survivors who have bravely battled the disease. Their stories remind us that cancer, while life-altering, is not the end. It's the beginning of a fight that can be won. Every survivor's journey is a beacon of courage, illuminating the importance of early detection, timely treatment, and emotional support. These women, and men of course, exemplify that breast cancer doesn't define their lives, it strengthens their purpose. Through personal resilience, the impact of a community, and advances in healthcare, survival rates have continued to rise, showing that cancer is beatable. Each day, survivors across Nigeria and beyond offer inspiration, encouraging others to seek help, hold on to hope, and advocate for their health. Gloria Okwu, a breast cancer survivor and an advocate for breast cancer awareness, shares her journey with us. We hope you will be able to understand the world of breast cancer warriors and survivors through her story.
I was diagnosed in March 2017, but before then, I noticed a lump in my left breast one fateful evening in August 2016. Before that, I never checked my breasts. I didn't know much about cancer, so I never checked, basically. But that evening, I don't know what happened, and I just felt my breast, and something was hard on the side. And I got a bit concerned, so I went to a hospital, a private facility, and they said it's benign. But they advised I should still do further tests. And so that was how the journey started. For the next 7 months, I would shuttle between hospitals, doing scan, mammogram, and finally a true cut biopsy. And in March, they told me the lump was malignant. And that was how the journey started. It has not been an easy journey for me, because merely I was told, like, I had this diagnosis just 1 month after convocation from school. So, the euphoria of graduating from university after so many JAMB attempts, I was just looking forward to starting my life, and then this happened. So as doctor told me that day, "Oh, madam, this looks like cancer, and if it's cancer, we will chop off your breast." Those were his exact words. When he said that, the whole world stopped for me. All I was thinking about was dying and leaving behind my 3 young children, and leaving behind the certificate I worked so hard for. So the next stage for me, after the shock, was acceptance. And so I asked, what next? And I was told I had to remove the lump. I had two options. Either I remove the lump and do radiotherapy on the affected breast, or I would remove the entire breast. Meanwhile, the stage was stage 2, so which is considered early. So I removed the breasts as advised the same month, and after that, I was referred for chemotherapy, radiotherapy. So, but I didn't go. I didn't continue with my tests. I didn't with my treatments, because I was told that chemo would kill me, especially hearing it from a health personnel I respect so much made me not to want to do it. Like chemo kills, and also the costs. Like I said, I was just out of school. I have 3 kids to manage, so I couldn't even afford my surgery, let alone a chemotherapy. So I made up my mind I wasn't going to do it, especially after I was told there was no spread to any other. So I felt I've removed the affected organ, removed even lymph nodes. So I believed I was fine. And I went on living my life, making minor adjustments to my food. Usually I ate healthy most of the time, so just minor adjustments here and there until I had a recurrence 16 months later. Lumps were growing on the chest wall where the breast was removed. And so I knew that was dangerous. I went back to the hospital. I did more scans and they told me you must do chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Again, I still didn't do it. I chose another option because I was still afraid of the side effects, the money, and the fact that it could kill me. So I chose to try some herbal options. At the same time, before then, I always said I had no history of cancer in my family. But it was at that point, I knew my mom's twin sister also had cancer, but she was battling secretly. She had breast cancer. And eventually I will find out that my grandfather died of prostate cancer, and I have a distant aunt that died of throat cancer. So before that time, 2019, now, I didn't know it, anybody in my family had it. So when I heard my aunt was fighting cancer too, I knew it had to be a family thing. So I followed her to a herbal place where she was being treated, and they removed all the 4 lumps on my chest, and I started treatment with them. But when she died 4 months later, it was a wake-up call for me to change my tactics. And I realized that what I was doing was dangerous. These people were untrained. They're not medical professionals. I was literally gambling with my life. So I stopped the herbal remedies. I stopped working with them. And I went to the hospital. And by this time, I'd spent 2 years without any other treatment apart from surgery. So I went back to the hospital and I told them I was ready to do chemotherapy. And the next thing I did was to start sourcing for funds because, like I said, I can't afford the medications and treatment. So I started sourcing for funds. I became very vocal about my challenge. I made a list of people and the ways I knew they could support me. And I reached out to people. And they supported in every way I wanted. And I started my chemotherapy. I did 8 sessions of chemo and 25 sessions of radiotherapy. And I finished early 2020. The treatment ran from April 2019 to January 2020. Yes, and when I finished, I went for my 3 months checkup. I was fine. And by the time I went for the 6 month checkup, something was not right again. And, I will start checking again. And I noticed in 2022 that the cancer has spread to the bone. And I kept on having this pain in my bone that kept progressing and progressing. And I started defying pain medications. And after some scans and yes, they realized it has spread to the bone. And so that is a whole new challenge on its own. When cancer moves from the primary site to some other place, it becomes more difficult to manage. And that is what actually kills. It's not just that there's cancer, but the fact that it starts invading other organs or tissues, as the case may be. So from 2022, I had that spread. I was managing, trying to manage the pain, the medications again. The cost has now increased again. And then in 2023, I did some tests again and it has spread further to the liver, to the lungs. Yes, and that, of course, shocked my cost of medications, anxiety level, the panic, the depression, everything doubled, quadrupled even, because it's more dangerous now. It's at that point it can actually kill. Yes, so that's where I am now. I've been managing well, as you can see. The truth is, people might not be far from the truth. When some of them say chemo kills, some of them is from their experience. But The experience is not same for everyone. So when I eventually did chemo, it didn't kill me, obviously. And I didn't even have the side effects, the way I expected, the diarrhea, the vomiting, those things. I never had diarrhea like many people have. I vomited just a few times. It depends on your body type, on your kind of cancer, on the stage of presentation, on the strength of the chemotherapy. There's so much, if you have other comorbidities, there's so much that goes into it that will reflect how the chemo side effects come up. So that's why it's dangerous to listen to someone, because this person might have a different reality from you. And maybe also our health infrastructure. Yeah, we've come a long way from then, because that year, if the radio machines were working, I wouldn't need to cut off my breast, because they said where the lump was located, to be easy for them to take out the lump and do radiotherapy for me, so I wouldn't need to cut off my breast. But at that time, in the whole of Nigeria, no machines were working. The few we had were not working. So my only option was to go to Ghana after the surgery to treat with radio. And the cost was $6,000 as at the time. And I wasn't working, like I said. $6,000 is just the cost of radio. The tickets for the airfare is not there. The hotel, the person that will go with me, other costs, other living costs was not even included. I told them I don't have $6,000. So that was why I had to opt to cut my breast. So imagine the machines were here. Because losing a breast is no joke. In as much as I try to be strong about it, others, however, try to be strong about it, because we feel like, oh, we're fighting for our lives. But you never get over that part, that you've lost a part of your body. You never get over it. It affects you mentally. It's like you've lost a part of your femininity, and it sticks. You have to fight that stigma by yourself, to accept the new you, and also teach some people that will struggle with that reality to accept you. It's a whole new issue on its own. Yeah. And I remember also doing my treatments. Finally, in 2019 December, when I started radiotherapy, machines were working, but they kept breaking down again. So first, they were not working at all. They were that bad. Now, 2 years later, they are working, but they kept breaking down. So I remember I had to do a 7-day break at a point. I did 2 days break at a point. I even had a 1-day break. So what is really the efficacy of that procedure I did? I don't even know, because lumps keep on coming out on my chest wall after that procedure. So I kept asking questions. Maybe it was all the breaks that didn't even allow it to work well. So we still have challenges with the health sector. We have challenges with getting funds. There are so many breaks in my treatments, because I can't afford my medicines. I have to waste to beg money. You're looking to get from the government. Your salary. My salary cannot even. My salary is not even cannot even buy one of my medicine now. My salary cannot. So I'm not even thinking of my salary. I'm thinking of other sources to raise money. Yeah. The first symptom I noticed was the lump, and for a while it was just the lump, because I kept checking, if any other thing was going wrong, even though I never believed it would be cancer. I felt I was too young for cancer. I never knew I had a family history, so I wasn't even thinking about cancer at all. But I kept checking the breasts, I noticed that the lump kept growing. Yes, but not to the point that it's changed the shape or anything, but I knew it grew. It was after the biopsy that I now had a second symptom. That was dimpled breast. Yes, so there was like dimples all over the breast. Wasn't still too obvious, but when I looked at the mirror, I could notice that the breast had changed further. So that was the second symptom I have. But there could be so many other symptoms, for breast cancer. Someone can, apart from the lump, which is like the most common, you could have dimpled breasts, something that is called peau d'orange, where the breast looks like the back of orange, inverted nipple, or the nipple is changing shape in any way, discharge from the nipple, blood, water, pus, anything coming out of nipple could be dangerous. Um, Things like sores, pain, rash, anything that is, in fact, people are advised to know their breast to the point that they notice the slightest change. The slightest change in the breast could be cancer. It could be nothing. It could be just hormonal changes. It could also be cancer. So people are advised to know their breast so much that any change will be noticed early and checked out. It has been a very difficult journey. I'm not even going to lie. Yes, very very difficult journey. One, you don't know how it ends for you, or when it ends. You're just on this journey, and every turn could be fatal. You know, you don't know anything for sure. Even people that are diagnosed early, stage one, stage two, could end up with a stage four cancer eventually. So nothing is really promised in this journey. But the only thing I have made up my mind, the only place I seem to have power and I thrive in that space, is the space where I decide how this reality affects me. That seems to be the only power I have in this journey, and I try to harness that power and live there as much as I can. I try to make as much lemonade as I can out of these lemons, because I don't have any control how it goes, right? But I choose to be happy. I choose to affect people positively with this journey. I choose to look for opportunities that will just keep me going. I choose to look for a purpose in this mess, in this darkness. I just choose to not make it all about gloom and doom. And so that's why I started telling my story publicly. The first time I told my story, I was taking my third chemo, and I was overcome by grief. And writing is one way I am burdened. So if I can write exactly how I feel like I've shared my burden. So I wrote exactly what was happening to me on Facebook that morning. Yes, I was at the hospital when I wrote that. I was looking for my chemo, and I just wrote that. And that was how I started sharing my story. And I felt better sharing, even though some people said, no, you shouldn't have. I said, I'm fine. And that was how I started. And I saw firsthand the effect it had on people. People started coming to my inbox with their own problems. Somebody even was domestic abuse, wasn't even cancer. Someone was having serious bone problems that needed hip replacement. People started coming to my inbox. Oh, I also have this challenge. They felt they could borrow from my strengths for their own challenges. And some also had cancer and we are hiding it. Some needed advice, And I realized that I could even help people in this very low moment. And it started making sense to me. So that was how I started sharing my story. And I shared this story until people started feeling like we could bring her to talk, even international conferences, and I started traveling to even tell this story, because I also realized that we could affect policy, we could affect the way things are done in this country. We, the patients, we wear the shoes. We have advocates all over the place that have NGOs that are speaking for the patients. But the truth is, I work with some of them. They have limited knowledge, they have limited expertise. I know how the drugs make me feel. I know the depression I go through. I know how I've lost relationships to cancer. I've lost money. I've lost time. You know, it's a challenge when you're still trying to make sure your dream is, you still want to achieve your dreams, even when chemo is wrecking your whole body, when you have to live with lifelong side effects. So I know how it feels. So I should be the one telling my story. So I try to do all of this for the good of the community, for my own good, and to see that there is change. So that has been my strength in all of this. And because I have 3 young children I want to live for, I know that I'm the only one they have. So I want to be alive to raise them. I want to be alive to see them grow. I want to also teach them strength. I want to teach them strength. They know my diagnosis, they know how bad it is, and they also see me live through that reality every day. I know that will make a remarkable, effect on them. I was working with a stick sometime this year for months, because of the pain in the bone. And they will still see me go to work with a stick. Even when I needed to travel for the World Cancer Congress, if the pain didn't stop, I would have traveled with my stick. I don't care. Because there's no time to do anything than now. There's no better time than now. So if I'm waiting for the pain to stop so I can travel with that, then maybe I would never travel. So I was making arrangements for my travel. I was working with a stick, and they would be like, "You going to travel?" I said, "I'll travel with the stick if I have to. I don't care." But luckily, before then, the pain, the leg became better, and I could drop the stick, and So I just live my life in the now, for now. For those people who have cancer, for those who don't have cancer, everybody's going to die eventually. I lost someone this morning. She didn't have cancer, you know. Everybody's going to die eventually. So I think we should all learn to live today. Live for today. Love people. Tell them what they mean to you. Be good to people. Achieve your dreams. The stigma is real. And you'll be shocked how many people have died because they are afraid of stigma. How many people that have actually died from stigma. Someone told a story once. I met her in a meeting. She said her younger sister has cervical cancer and she died, and the community people threw her in evil forest. They said she must have done something terrible to have a disease like that. So they threw her. And this thing happened, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. It's not even in the 80s. In this generation, she was thrown in the evil forest. I can't imagine the trauma the parents and the family is going through, that they couldn't even give her a decent burial after what she went through. So stigma is real. But I always tell people, if you don't stigmatize yourself, sometimes the stigma starts from self. You think less of yourself. You feel less of yourself. I know a woman that doesn't allow her husband touch where her breast was removed. If he does that, they're going to have problems because she wants to hide it. She doesn't want him to see it. She keeps covering it. She's not comfortable with herself anymore. So the man is going to follow that line. So you have to try to accept your new reality, accept that this is who you are now, and there's nothing you can do about it. So people around you will fall in line. They might have their reservations, but eventually they'll be fine. Everybody will be fine in the end. So one thing I do to address this stigma, since 23 years ago, 2022, 2022, every no bra day, I show my scars. So I do a photo shoot, just cover here, and I open this place. And I put it on all my social media platforms, everywhere. So that people would see what it looks like, what no bra day is all about. Because some people actually sexualize that day. To see the reality of breast cancer, to push people to action, to actually check their breast and report any changes early. Because if you report very early, you might not even lose your breast. Or you might even lose the breast, but not do chemo. I've seen people who lost their breast, but didn't do chemo, because it was very early. So reporting early is so important. It might change the whole story for you. So I show those scars to also encourage people who have lost their breast that, hey, it's fine, it's okay. And for people to see what it looks like, because some people are so scared. They can't imagine their wife not having a breast, or they can't imagine it. But when it's in their face, they see it. They come to terms with that reality. They know that this can happen. They start coming to terms with it. So I put my picture out there just to address that stigma. Even this year, I also put it all over my social media. People repost it. And the most wonderful thing is that I know people that have told me, it's because I saw that your no bra day picture that encouraged me to take out my breast when I had to. They say, I felt I was so young, and I saw you as young as I am, and I said, why not? So it has inspired people to take action on their health, and that is a lot for me. And I'm sure that many people too that have seen it will start coming to realizing that this can actually happen to somebody I love. Men leave their wives because they're asked to cut their breasts. It's reality. I know we have a community. I know how many women that are divorced because they have breast cancer. Their husbands left them. How many young girls, their boyfriends left, their fiancés left. And you can imagine the impact on that person fighting that disease. But when we put out these stories every time, we show these pictures every time, These men that would have left start coming to reality that, okay, this is happening. It's not new, it's not strange. It could be my wife. Okay, now it's my wife. I have to support her. So that is my only two way of addressing stigma: sharing my story, sharing my pictures. You know, that's the little I could do, and encouraging others to talk about their story. One reason why people hide is because it's easy for you to know someone who died from cancer than to know someone who survived cancer, because people are not talking. We don't share this good news that you can live with cancer, you can survive cancer. We don't share this good news. So somebody that, oh, cancer killed the person. But by the time you know that my neighbor survived cancer. Oh, somebody in my church, you just have hope from that diagnosis, from that spot of diagnosis that I can survive it, you know. That hope will help you to also fight stigma. Yeah.
Well, that was Gloria Okwu, a breast cancer warrior and survivor there speaking. In conclusion, in the fight against breast cancer, awareness is our greatest weapon. It empowers individuals to take charge of their health, encourages early detection, and fosters a community of support and strength. Breast cancer survivors remind us that the journey is not easy, but it is one that can be overcome with courage, determination, and the right support system. By spreading awareness, we honor those who have fought, support those in the fight, and work towards a future where breast cancer is no longer a threat. Together, we are stronger. And that concludes this week's episode of the program, Healthy Living on Trust TV. We will see you next week as we will be doubling back on our conversation on breast cancer awareness, this time with a doctor in the studio to shed a different light. You do not want to miss it. For comments, contributions, and suggestions, do well to follow and subscribe to all Trust TV social media handles. Download the Trust TV app on iOS and Android devices across their respective stores and get live updates on the YouTube live stream and the website. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for your time. We will be leaving you with some facts about breast cancer awareness.